How many times have you had a client doing this during their triceps extensions, where they're basically doing everything that they can to just get the weight down with their shoulders and never seem to be able to keep their shoulders still as they go through the triceps contraction? Well, fear not, because there's actually a very simple fix, and it relates mostly just to understanding what specifically to coach and then how to direct your client's attention to what they're trying to move rather than to what they're not trying to move. Because a lot of times what coaches will do is they'll just say, oh, just keep your arms still and just try to hold your arms there, all to no avail. So what's the central problem with this whole shoulder dumpy thing? Well, if I think about if I take one arm and I ask myself, okay, what is the motion that is being created by elbow bending and straightening? Like, where is it actually apparently happening? Well, it's happening through this whole segment here, the forearm and the hand. And so if you think about the way that the hand is moving throughout the course of a triceps extension and where the forearm is moving, it's actually changing directions, right? At the top of the motion, the hand is kind of going downward to the floor, like you're hammering something. But toward the bottom of the motion, the hand is actually going backward behind the body. And when we're using a resistance that is trying to bend the elbow and we have to straighten the elbow against it, this resistance here, it's not moving in an arc like, say, on a pec deck machine where the pec fly motion is actually an arc and the handles are moving in an arc, or something like a preacher curl machine where the preacher is actually, the handles are arcing with my arm, right? This is just a cable and it's just moving in a straight line. And so it can be a little bit complicated for people when they're not really thinking or they haven't learned the motion to coordinate the linear direction of this with the arcing motion of this. And so what happens is people have this initial intent of just naturally shoving downward, but they forget, or they never learn, or their attention is never brought to the fact that their hand needs to go backward toward the end of the motion. Because again, hand goes down, hand goes back, that's the arc of the elbow. So if you never tell your client, hey client, your hand is going to go down and then back, if they continually are just thinking downward, well, the elbow can't move the hand further downward this way. What can move the hand downward further this way? The shoulders and basically anything to, protract your arms forward will start to take over. And so people will not only do weird stuff with their shoulder like this, is they'll actively start to actually crunch down because the elbow cannot pull anything forward. In order for something to move forward like this, the shoulder has to do it or the spine has to do it. So the solution, instead of telling your client endlessly to just fix themselves this way, hey, don't move, don't move, don't move, that never works, or pretty much never works in my experience. What you need to tell them to focus on is, rather than pushing down, you're going to tell them to push backward. Because when you tell them to push backward behind their bodies, what is the only thing that can really move their hand directly backward? Well, in this case, it's the triceps controlling the load, right? Obviously, we don't want them to start to just pull like this, but if you say, hey, instead of just sort of haphazardly throwing your hands to the ground, what I really want you to concentrate on is basically taking your thumbs and shoving your thumbs behind your body. If you focus on the hand, more than likely their attention will be brought to their triceps. If you tell them to focus on their elbow, they might start pulling like this. So you don't want to say, okay, I want you to pull your elbow back. You want to say hand, pinky. Pinky is probably makes a little bit more sense than thumb. Whatever works for them. You can try a few different landmarks to focus on. But you want to ultimately say, okay, instead of just pinky down or instead of just shoving your hands forward, what I want you to do is just shove your hands backward. And this may actually be easier to teach, at least at first, if you do it single arm. Why? Well, because if you focus single arm, you only have one thing to focus on. You don't have to worry about the contribution of some implement that may interrupt them. So I'm just grabbing the ball of this. You could put a handle on here. But when they use a single arm, you can say, okay, well, I really want you to focus on just that squeezing backward motion that whole time, again, rather than the downward thing. And the advantage of the single arm as well is you can literally stand beside them and brace your hand against the front side of the elbow. Because when you brace the hand against the front side of their elbow, or really more specifically their biceps, right? What you'll be doing is you'll essentially be providing a counter force for them to be able to push backward against. So that increased stability that you yourself are providing forward will actually encourage them to think more backward, because now they have an anchor, they have a brace off of which they can create that backward motion. So overall, the main problem, just to repeat, is people not acknowledging the arcing nature of the elbow and really motion of the hand as it occurs from the top to the bottom. And the solution to that is, rather than to just arbitrarily tell someone to squeeze their triceps or to keep their shoulders still, you bring their concentration to that arcing motion and you teach them that, hey, a triceps extension is really a backward motion, not a downward motion. Because the downward motion, the downward portion of the motion will take care of itself, because this thing is the thing that is pulling them upward. So they have an easy way to think about down, but again, that backward portion is less intuitive. And again, if someone's really struggling, I recommend doing it single arm and helping them brace to be able to move backward rather than just simply downward. If you found this video useful and you're a trainer who's struggling to coach clients easily and confidently, think about how much an entire course about all this information would help you. You'll learn the basic physics, you'll learn the anatomy, and you'll learn how to apply that to actually coaching another human being, with everything from how to coach a triceps extension to how to coach a calf raise or a squat or a hinge. If you're interested in taking the confusion out of coaching instantly with all these kinds of physics-based concepts, check the link in the description below.